I don't know why I'm so anxious, but I am. And if I were to think about it, I think I'm I need to get exercise. I'm not moving my body as often as I should be. And B, I'm starting to, I don't know if I know we were talking about this, but I don't know if anyone else feels the same way. Sometimes I will catch myself going into like a anxious thought pattern, and I know I have to stop. But because I can feel it building, like I can sort of sense that like anxiety is imminent in a way. So it's like halfway there, but not completely there.
Yeah.
And so I just, that's where I'm at. That's my state of mind currently.
The State of the Union for Nadine.
Yeah, the so too. Yeah, the
This
so
I was
too for
literally
Nadine.
gonna say so too. Okay, I actually really do know what you mean, but I was saying this where I think that like when you are about to enter a anxious thought pattern or a thought pattern that you know is driven by like a mental health situation or like a bad like a storm brewing, like a bad mental health storm brewing, I feel
Yeah.
like the fact that you can like catch it is like shows that you are recognize like there's some part of you that can like step aside or step outside of that mental health and be like, I see what's happening and like I can catch it, which I think is like really important. And I think that's really great. But I was a little while ago talking to my therapist about anxiety because I was like, I don't know why I feel anxious. I was like, I don't
Mm.
know what it is. Like kind of how you were saying today, where you're like, I'm just anxious, but I don't know why. I was saying the same thing. And I was like, I will wake up with a lot of anxiety and a lot of dread,
Yeah.
but I don't know why. Like I just wake up and I'm like, and that's actually part of why I changed my alarm ringtone
You were
because I
saying.
because I feel like this blaring alarm like woke me up in like the wrong way. Like I used to have like I don't know what my alarm clock was before. And this is so lame, but when you go into like my first of all lame because I use Apple Music, but if you go into my like
Not lame. First, anyone who uses Spotify is lame. Thanks. I will
anyone
die
who
on
uses
this hill.
Spotify is lame. I will die on this hill. Apple Music is better.
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody at me, it's better. Anyways, my Apple Music search is so lame because it's literally like morning music. Like, what the fuck is morning music? Like, what? I don't know. But I found this audio and it's like of birds like chirping and like, I don't know what else it is, but it's actually very calming. And I've used it. And so I wake up in the morning, I set my alarm to be that noise, and I actually wake up feeling better.
I
So
was gonna ask if you noticed a difference.
I did because I didn't wake up like startled. That would I feel like
Yeah.
make me like, oh my God, what's going on? But anyways, the point of this is that my therapist was like kind of like talking to me, whatever. And then she was like, anxiety is like I don't know, I don't remember if this is the exact word she used, but she was like, it's a secondary emotion. So
Mm.
you actually have a primary emotion, which can be like, I don't know, fear or sadness or nervousness or something else. And then your body, sometimes even excitement, like, so it's not always something bad.
Yeah.
And then anxiety is like a secondary emotion. So it was interesting because in a way like reframing what anxiety actually was, and it was like you almost like go into like a defense mechanism, but it's
Hmm.
not a defense mechanism from anxiety, it's a defense mechanism from something else. So like you don't want to feel afraid, or like if work makes you anxious, it's because you're like, I don't know, like afraid of messing up, or you're like, I
Yeah.
care about it, so I want to do a good job. And so then you don't want to allow yourself to like feel afraid
Hmm.
almost, so you like switch it to anxiety.
I find I think it's interesting that they mentioned it's connected to like a primary emotion, and even just that thought makes you dig deeper on what that is, like
Yeah.
what the root cause is. I find what makes me really anxious, like almost immediately, is an unfinished task
Yeah. Yeah.
and like a growing to-do list. Like Tarini was showing me her to-do list earlier, and it's like a full page of things to do. And I know that if I was running on a to-do list like that and something had to get pushed off, it would like give me the worst anxiety about it.
Yeah. But that just like that, so your anxiety, but then that's also so your anxiety is like, if we were saying that that's a secondary emotion, I
Yeah.
feel like your first primary emotion would be like you're it's like you're afraid of like not doing something, or you're afraid that you're gonna let someone down, you're afraid you're gonna let yourself down, or
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you care about the things that are on your to-do list. Like my to-do list is like random. It literally is like, I'm not even joking. One of the things on my to-do list is shave your underarms, LOL. Like I write everything, like everything. It's like everything that I could possibly write that I like need to remember to do outside of my norm is on this goddamn to-do list. And it's stressful. It's long. It's long.
I'm actually dead that you had to write shave your armpits.
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I'm going away and I I feel like people know this about me, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I don't really shave that often, like,
Yeah.
or like, because, and it's because I don't usually shave, I epilate. And
Yeah.
so, but you can't always epilate. Like, you have to like have your hair grow out a certain amount before you can
Yeah.
use your epilator. So when I have to deviate from this schedule, I have to shave. Anyways, that's a lot of detail. Like nobody gives a fuck. I don't even give a fuck, but whatever. And so now I have to like remind myself that like don't forget that like you aren't going to be epilating. Like
You have to shave.
you have to shave. But the point of this is that
Yes.
these to-do lists would also stress me out until I put everything on my to-do list, which sounds very counterintuitive,
Mm-hmm.
but it actually helped me because then it was like, it's like I didn't have to remember anything.
Yeah, it's a brain dump.
It's literally a brain dump, which sometimes is also when I'm feeling anxious, how I journal,
Yeah.
because I just have like so many things that I'm like, we need to just like get it out like somewhere, like
Yeah.
get it all out, and then you can organize it after, or then you can take a look and see what actually matters or what's going on or whatever the case might be.
I want to be someone that journals. I really do. Like I literally Googled yesterday healthy morning routines because I feel like mine
Oh
is
my
all
God.
over the place.
I literally just last night was like, I need to build a better morning routine. That's wild.
That's weird.
It's weird.
Okay, I'm saying weird because we've had these moments like multiple times in the last week.
Yeah.
What was the one that we were? Oh, the one about when we went for drinks.
Yeah.
That was wild. So we went out on the last weekend to celebrate my birthday. It was very confusing because my birthday was a month ago, but everyone
Everyone
is
was like,
traveling.
I wish you, but happy birthday.
Yeah. Everybody's confused. When's your birthday? The answer is always. So we went out for drinks and we went to this Mexican like restaurant slash bar, and the waiter was talking to us about, I think it was like some special drink that they had, which was amazing. Anyways, it was like a paloma. So it was grapefruit and I can't remember
I'm
what.
dead. Why are you telling us
I don't
this?
know why I'm going through the like ingredients, the step by step on how to make it. All this is to say
Dead. Actually dead.
it was this amount, like this was the
Nadine's like,
price.
in case you wanted to make
In
it,
case you wanted to make it, don't take uh like instructions from me on how to make drinks. Like Tarini will tell you firsthand, I'm not the best. I'm not the best. Anyways, all this is to say that as the waiter was explaining the drink, I was thinking, oh, that would be really good with tahini. And so I made a note in my mind to ask him if he has tahini. And he actually, funny enough, was like, oh, and you can get tahini on the rim. So, anyways, we ordered that. He left. Tarini turned around and said, did you ask him if he has tahini? I said, no, but I thought it. And she said, I swear I heard
I
you
heard
say
it.
it.
I heard you say
Which is
it.
insane.
It was so weird. I heard you say it. And then I thought he answered you because I heard you say it.
Oh, no, we should
Weird.
look and see if they have like experiments. I literally sound like my 7-year-old nephew. Like we should do experiments, but like we should see if someone's doing some test, get
Wait,
paid. It's
what?
probably like $20, but
Do a
you know what I
test of
mean?
no.
Like a I don't know, like a connection test, like
Yeah.
alignment
Wait, like
test,
we know where like what would they tell us? We know
like a
where,
mind reading test.
like if we're able to mind read.
You know what we should actually do? That if I
The
can remember
intuition
that.
test? I know it.
The intuition, the like with the clap.
Yeah. Or like the numbers.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. We
We
should.
really
Okay, done.
so
We'll do it.
we should do that. Anyways, it's interesting you bring up intuition also because you know how like you and I often talk about like I had like a gut feeling, like I had like a gut
Yeah.
feeling. And it's true. Like many times that gut feeling like truly truly is like a gut feeling. But I was reading
Are
or
you about to
listening
go
to
into
a podcast.
manifestation?
I'm dead. No. I'm dead. This is not another episode about manifestation, people, please. Um, but I was reading or like listening to a podcast or something, and it was talking about how, like, you know, how you and I, when we say we have a gut feeling about something, it's like something is going to happen. We're like, I have a gut feeling that like this is going to happen, or like, and like it's
Yeah.
almost seems like low key, like supernatural when we talk about it.
Yep.
But and sometimes we're right. Like sometimes the things that we say, we're like, I know this is going to happen. Like I know that this is what the state of affairs.
This is the so
This is
to.
the
This
state
is
of
the
the
so
union,
to
this is
of
the thing
the.
of whatever the
Yeah.
situation is, but I know this is going to happen. And a lot of the times it does happen the way we say it's going to. But I was listening to this podcast or something, and it was talking about how like that, whatever you want to call it, but that like tendency to almost predict the future is like also your anxiety talking. It's like your anxiety trying to be like in control, or like your
Mm.
fear or your nervousness about what's going to come, trying to like be in control of like the next thing that's going to come.
Mm.
And so it tries to like predict, literally your brain is like trying to predict what's going to happen. And so then it, so then you like try to be like, oh, I have a gut feeling that like XYZ is going to happen. And so it's really hard for me sometimes to like differentiate between what is a gut feeling and what is something I feel like my anxiety is trying to tell me about a situation or a thing that I'm like feeling nervous about, or I'm afraid or unsure about.
That's it's so hard because I find that my anxiety warps, this sounds so intense, but like warps my sense of reality, like tells
Yeah.
me things that I know aren't true.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, that's really like it's really scary. Like I think people talk about like anxiety, and it is like something that affects so many people, and it's like a very it's every day, and that so many people are impacted by it on at a different level. But yeah, like that, sorry, I stopped, but it's like that is really really scary. And it's kind of scary because you can't trust yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or you
Mm-hmm.
have to get to the point like that you were saying where like you'll say something to yourself and then another part of you is like, no, but like that's not true, or no, like you know that's not right.
Yeah, like I feel like, not that I have not that I have like multiple
No, I know what you mean.
personalities, but I have just conflicting thoughts always at the
Yeah.
same time. Like
Yeah.
I have like my anxiety talking, and then I have my whatever, like common sense or like the sense of logic trying to calm it down.
Yeah.
But I think that the gut feeling the gut feeling note that you said is interesting, because does that mean that people who are more anxious tend to be more connected to their gut? Because there's some people that aren't connected to their intuition.
Yeah. I don't know, but I mean maybe, but
Yeah.
I think that sometimes if you have a gut feeling, you
Mm-hmm.
have to ask yourself like what is truly a gut feeling and what is maybe my nervousness or anxiety or whatever you want to call it trying to like figure out the outcome of a situation. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
trying to hold on to it and be like, "Oh, this is what's going to happen, so don't worry because you know what's going to happen."
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think like dealing with my anxiety or my whatever you want to call it is like so different all the time, because I think when I think about what either triggers it or like what spurs it, it's something different every time. And like recently I was like talking about how my anxiety was coming from this like fear of failure. It was
Mm-hmm.
coming from like a it's not even a fear, it is a fear of failure, but it's like a different side of like perfectionism. You know how you and I always talk about this like all or nothing mindset, and like we're
Yeah.
always like either we're going to do everything 1,000%, like no breaks, like Or we're like, we absolutely cannot even start it. Like we can't even do the first thing of it
Yeah.
because we're not going to do it 100%. And I feel like there's got to be middle. It's like progress over perfection. So this idea of like, you have to be like good at everything, or you have to be like on top of everything, or you have to like, that's why like I find like these to-do lists where I just like dump out everything is really helpful because it's everything. It's every single thing I have to be done, I have to
Yeah.
finish, or I have to be good at, or I have to complete, or I have to take care of is like here, that it like makes me feel better, that it's like nothing, it's not like I have to like remember something, if that
Yeah,
makes
it does. And I think too, what you were saying, like about this all or nothing thinking, makes sense when I was talking about if I don't finish something on my to-do list, it makes
yeah.
me anxious. Like I have to finish it all, leave no crumbs. I have to
Yeah.
literally wipe it clean. And if not, it's like it sits with me, it like sits on my chest. But it is that all or nothing thinking.
Yeah. I know. It's just so strange. Like, or not strange because like everybody deals with anxiety in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, but it's just, I don't know, like it's very, it's just a, you really have to like train yourself to think differently, which I was like saying this to, I was like talking to someone about meditation, and I was like,
Mhm.
and they were saying like meditation is really hard. And I was like, meditation is hard because when you like are learning something new, your brain like teaches your body how to do something, right? Like if
Mhm.
you're learning how to, I don't know, draw or write or something, your brain is teaching you, or you are teaching your brain how to do something different or
Mhm.
differently. But when you deal with things like anxiety, or when you deal with, and you have that like split sort of like, this is my anxious mind talking, this is my logical or rational mind talking, or when you like have something like meditation, for example, you have to teach your brain is trying to teach itself.
Mhm.
So it's so difficult because it's like there's like some sort of separation otherwise, like I'm
Yeah.
trying to teach myself, like I'm trying to teach my brain how to blah blah blah, or my brain is trying to teach me how to blah blah blah, but your brain is trying to teach itself how to deal with like an anxious thought, or like
Yeah.
meditate, which is like clear itself of its like scary thoughts. I don't
Yeah.
know, so weird.
I saw this quote yesterday, I think, and it was about exercising, and it really changed my mind because I often associate working out with like really pushing yourself, which again is that all or nothing mindset. And this quote was like, it doesn't have to be hard, it just has to be consistent.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's so applicable with everything, even
Yes.
just even like a morning routine.
Yeah.
Like going back to this, it doesn't have to be, I was looking up articles on like what the perfect morning routine is. And honestly, these morning routines were freaking packed. I'm like,
Yeah.
what time are these people getting up so that they can accomplish all 12 of these things
Yeah.
in their morning before they even go to work? It didn't make sense. But all this is to say that it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent.
Yeah. And like it's the idea of like progress over perfection. Like if you do one
Yeah.
thing in your morning, that's a more, or a more structured or a better morning routine than like what you did
Yes.
yesterday or what you did last week. Like that's a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
But it's really hard to like, I think people who set really high standards for themselves, which I think is like the both of us in different
Yeah.
respects, are, or in different areas of their life, I mean, like you really do feel like you need to like be perfect, or like be like whatever you
Yes.
think is perfect
Yeah.
for that thing, and like it's like debilitating. Like that sounds very intense, but it's actually very, very debilitating, because not only can you like rationally recognize that like there is some, like whenever you start something new, you're not going to be good at it because
Mhm.
it's new. And I feel like I like posted about this on my Instagram, and a lot of people
Yeah.
answered me, and one of the things that someone said was like, you have to remember, like you have to focus on the journey. And that's something that I'm trying very hard to focus on in general, but it's very easy, or not very, it's a lot easier to focus on the journey when it's like not like, for example, like with work, right? Like, or with if you're going back to school or whatever,
Mm.
it's very easy to focus on the journey when you don't have like external measures of how well you're doing. Like if you're at work and you're like, and you feel like you're like not doing something as well, or you whatever, like, or you feel like you need to be super good at everything, and you try to tell yourself like it's the journey, like you're learning. That's amazing and that sounds great, but like you're still being measured to perform,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Whereas like if it's something like school, I mean, you can say like I'm here to learn, which definitely will work. And that's like what this person who was talking to me, that's what they were saying. Like it's all about like learning, and it's all about like the journey of like learning and like enjoying that. But you also still are being measured in some way at the end of it, regardless of whether or not you care about the outcome, which I'm assuming if it makes you anxious, you obviously care about the outcome of this performance.
Yeah.
It makes it really hard to like, quote, enjoy the process, or like, which I don't know. It's so hard. Like, it's just really hard. I don't know. I always go back and forth about this.
No, I agree. Like, especially when you're talking about the idea of uh it's about the journey, not about the outcome. Well, like, isn't the journey about eventually getting to the outcome that you want?
See, but like, okay, so that's how I have this. When you talk about like two sides of you, I have this internal battle all the time where I'm like, but the journey is about getting somewhere. And I feel like that's the anxious side of me.
Yeah.
But the other side of me is like, no, like the journey is the destination. Like the journey, like it's all about being on the journey to like, whether it's to learn, whether it's to grow, whether it's to move towards something, the journey is still the destination. Because what are you going to do when you get there? You're going to go on another journey.
I guess it's like, I guess it helps to think of it as if you're traveling, like you need to put some sort of checkpoints in place. Like there may be some situations where you already have checkpoints in place set up for you, but other situations where you have to set them up yourself. Like I'm thinking of an analogy like you're traveling and you're going to an airport. You already know you're going to hit baggage claim, you're going to check in, then you're going to go through security, get bored, and then eventually hit your destination.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're going to go to your hotel. So, like exactly what you said, that end destination is always going to move at some point. But what are those checkpoints for you? Like, what is, to bring this freaking
I,
analogy back, like, what is your baggage claim? What is your
yeah.
passport control? You know what I mean? Like, what are those places?
But then, yeah, but then if your entire travel journey, like, say, this sounds so fucking intense, but like, say home is like you being born and you dying. That sounds so intense. But say coming
Okay.
home is you being born and you dying.
Okay.
And that's home. And so then
Okay.
you are going, like, life is essentially a journey. So you
Yeah.
are like, you have to get your, you have to get your passport, you have to book your ticket, you have
Yeah.
to get a ride to the airport, you have to, all of the things you have to pack, like
Yeah.
all of the things along the way. Doesn't that mean then that every mini journey is
Mhm.
your, which makes up the big journey, therefore nothing is a real destination, and therefore the destination is the journey?
Okay, you're doing this to me again. I have no freaking idea what you just said. Um, it was super philosophical and I respect it. But I just don't know what it means. I think that fuck.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
I
I'm just gonna write it out.
okay, I think when you said like mini destinations is like how I would think about it is like life. If we were to put it back in this airplane example, which one Trini's traveling and one I'm dying to travel, so you can obviously tell. Um, I'm dying to travel as if like not everybody in the world is like ready to hop on it.
I'm dead.
Anyways, life is a series of like mini trips. And so you're gonna go through several checkpoints in life that resemble, the one that we talked about, the analogy of going to the airport, but your destination is going to be different. And then if we want to continue this analogy, it's like eventually you come on like a return flight back home.
Yeah. Eventually you come on the return flight
Yeah.
home. That is also part of the journey.
Yeah.
In my very like morbid analogy, coming home was
Death.
death. Like
Yeah.
when you like I think about it like a loop. Like this is home, you're born, and then you go through all of these different things, which is essentially like your trips. Like this is you
Yeah.
like taking a shower to get ready. This is you getting your passport. This is you getting your visa. This is you booking your flight. Da, 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 da. Anyways, it's like one big loop. You're born and then you go on this big loop and then you come back.
Yeah.
And then when you come back, it's like your death. It's death. This really
This took a turn. This State of the Union took a sharp U-turn around.
It took a turn. But the idea then is that if you think about it like this, if you think this is your destination, essentially this sounds awful, but death is your very final destination.
Yeah, totally.
So then everything is a journey until you get back to death. Or
So
not back to, but you know what I mean.
But then it sounds like every destination you think of in life, whether it's personal or work, is always related back to the final like end game, which is your entire life. Is that right? Like you think of things relative to your entire life?
Maybe. I don't know.
Please call your therapist right now.
And I'm gonna be like,
and have her do like a 2-for-1 session.
You need to understand.
We're both confused. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about. I will tell you. You should pay me.
You should pay me.
I will tell you.
Ring ring. You know what? I actually am gonna bring this up to her because this is very interesting. Yeah. And what I also find interesting is the idea that like if everything is moving towards this really is taking a turn, but if everything is moving towards the final destination of death, then technically nothing should make you anxious except for something that might lead you, or when you get to, if that even makes you anxious, your final destination. Like technically then you shouldn't be moving towards a final destination. You should be enjoying the process, because then the final destination is that you're gonna die. Like that's the end of your life. I don't know. That's obviously it also doesn't have to be like, I love that we're having this because it's this conversation because it's so indicative of how we think about things so extremely. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it actually doesn't even have to be like that. It doesn't even have to be the way I said or the way you said it or anything. Like, it could be somewhere in the middle and it can change at different times.
It's funny that we're having this conversation because one, I don't know if anyone watches This Is Us. I don't.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but I did watch. My mom does. So I was watching the latest episode with her.
Don't tell me.
Where are you in this? I don't know like what I can spoil for you, but where are you in this season?
Please don't spoil anything because I want to watch it, but I have not started the new season. I know.
My girl. Okay. Without spoiling anything.
Time with my goddamn to-do list to shave my underwear. I haven't had time.
Add note. Watch
This Is Us.
Also, please add a second note. Watch Bridgerton because but
I haven't
watched to talk to you about this.
I haven't watched either.
Okay.
I'll add it to my to-do list. I'll watch it. You know what? I will download it and watch it at the airport and on the flight.
Through passport control, baggage claim, through
all of the checkpoints. I will be like, part of my journey is also watching Bridgerton and This Is Us. So like, this is all the journey. They're gonna be like, can I have your passport? And I'm like, it's all part of the journey. They're like, shut the fuck up. They're like, you cannot enter this country.
I'm freaking dead. Okay, fine. So, okay, fine. Without giving anything away, like this is a show about life, and this particular episode was about death. And it like the way that they had talked about death was interesting because I guess the way they talked about life, not really death, but the way that they talked about life leading up to death is that it's just life is a collection of small moments that you look back on and smile about. What, do you hear this?
Yeah.
Oh my God. 1 second. My sister's calling me.
No problem. This is a small moment that makes up your bigger life.
Yeah. So life is like a collection of small moments that you look back on and you laugh, and like I'm thinking like you laugh, but not every moment is a laughable moment. Obviously, like life is complicated and it's full of different things, but I don't know if it helps to think of it as like small moments. Also, it's crazy that we're talking about this because I saw this TikTok yesterday that actually I personally found anxiety inducing, but it was this girl, she was talking about this graph. I don't
Okay.
even know like what it is exactly, but it was just this graph, and it had all the years like up to 100. So if you were to live to 100, where you are relative to that. So you basically just dot, let's say like we're 27, like we would just dot 27, and that's a reflection of all the amount of space is like how much life you've lived so far. And it's supposed to promote living in the moment and being present in the moment. But actually, like what that promoted for me was, look how much time has gone by. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. I get that. I do.
Which is not like, we've talked about this. It's like, it's not a race, enjoy the journey, which exactly what we're saying now. But you really don't know. Like, you really don't know.
Yeah.
What life is going to throw out at you, and also like how long you have on this earth. Like, I know that sounds so intense, but like that's relative to like how much you've lived is relative to the assumption that you're going to be up to 100, which if you are, that's amazing, but that not everybody is. So how can you really measure that?
Yeah. I actually just last night watched a TED Talk and it was called Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Loved. And it was really interesting because it was about this woman who, I don't know, she's like a professor or something. I don't really know if she was a professor, if she was just a historian. Anyways, the point of the story is that she talks about how she like used to and still does study this sect of Christianity, which is called like, I don't remember what it's called, but it's something, they're like very positive and they believe that like if you like how like good things happen to good people. Like so God will give you goodness if you are good. And I feel like to some extent a lot of religions are like that, or there's some principle in almost all religions that are like that, but this was like very much like if you are good and if you are like if you are good, good things will happen to you.
Yeah.
And so she was like, I didn't really believe in this, but I studied it, whatever. And then one day she had this like stomach, she like had like a stomach pain and she like everyone was like, it's fine, like it's probably just indigestion, like you just gave birth, like it could be any. It turns out she has stage 4 cancer
Okay.
in her stomach. And she was like, I'm a good person. Why did this happen to me? But the reason I thought about it is because she said something very similar. She's like, you never know when life is one day just going to change. You never know that one day you're not going to, God forbid, but like you're not going to live tomorrow, or you're not going to be able to do the same things that you thought that you did today, tomorrow, whatever the case might be. And like she kind of talks about how in the end of the day, like some things don't happen for a reason. And good things and bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. And not everything, not truly everything is this like divine intervention or like this idea of like everything happens for a reason, blah, blah, blah. But when you're talking about like the amount of life you've lived versus like the amount of life you have left to live, you try to like theorize about why things happen, or like you try to theorize about like, well, if I've only done this much, like that's because I've learned this much. And so I go forward with life because blah, blah, blah. But that's again, like your brain just trying to make sense of and try to try to figure out what the outcome is going to be, which you can kind of argue is another way that your anxiety, that your brain is trying to like protect you. And it's like your anxiety about what is to come or your life that you've lived or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like talking to my mom, sorry, last thing, but I was talking to my mom and I was like telling her about this thing at work I was stressed out. And she like, you know, has a stressful job. And she was like, it's so silly. She's like, you know, like we get so stressed about these things. Like, what do we even remember them? She's like, do we even remember 5-10 years from now, like that we were stressed about this, but we're like losing sleep over it. We're like thinking about it. She's like, there's only a couple things in my life that I can think of that I was stressed about and that I remember.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
I guess in that way, like I can see how you frame things in like reference to your entire life. Like, is
Yeah.
this really at the end of the day a hindrance to my life as a whole? Like, how is it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when you put it against everything else, like, how much weight does it really hold?
Yeah. And sometimes the answer is still a lot, you know,
Yeah.
like sometimes the answer is still, it holds a lot of weight
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
you know, like whether it's that circumstance or what that circumstance will lead to or whatever. But I think, I don't know, like it's just interesting. Like when you think about your life or like you think about the life that you lived or you think about the life you're going to live,
Yeah.
it's equally as scary to not know what's going to happen as it is exciting to not know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like the anxiety you feel about where you need to be is equal to the excitement of where you can go. I sound like Dr. Seuss.
But I love it. I really do. I love it. Honestly, like I'm thinking, like, should we just even end the episode here? Because I do love that quote, and I find that it's so. Sorry, I just like saw some random. He's not random actually. I think he's my neighbor. Mowing our grass. So I'm like, what's going on? It's I totally agree, and I find that like especially over the pandemic, my perspective on life has really gone from like dread, stress about like the uncertainty, not sure what the next step is, constantly questioning why I'm not where I thought I would be, to just being in a much more open position where I'm actually excited for what's to come and I'm ready.
Yeah, as you should be, because as there will be and there have been equally bad and terrifying and devastating things, there have been and will be beautiful, wonderful, loving, good things. And I think that helps my anxiety, where it's like, if you can think about all the bad, then you have the capability. If you can think about all the bad that has to yet to come, that means you have the capability to think about all the good that has yet to come. And that, I don't know if that helps because it's still a lot of unknown, but like it's unknown you would want to happen to you.